Chapter 10. I finished my homework early on Saturday. I was kind of bored. Aaron was away visiting cousins with his family. I sat in my room, listening to music drift up from downstairs. Dad had the Metropolitan Opera on the radio. He always played it cranked up really loud. My bedroom door was closed, but I could still hear it as if I were in the living room with him. Outside the window, the sky spread out, blue and clear. A mound of snow rose up on the outer sill, pressing against the window. It had snowed for 2 days. The sun had finally come out. I stared down at a drawing of the boy's face, stared into his serious eyes, stared at the scar that split his eyebrow. Who was he? Why did I keep drawing him? Why wouldn't Dr. Sales tell me? And why did Dr. Sales lose his cool? Why did he have such a startled expression on his face when I held up the drawing? Questions, questions. I had a lot of questions, not many answers. But I was still staring at the boy's face when the bedroom door flew open, and Laura and Adriana burst in. "What's up?" Adriana cried. "You can't stay in. You've got to come with us," Laura insisted. They both had blue down jackets pulled down over faded jeans. They both carried round red plastic sleds. Their cheeks were nearly as red as the sleds. "Huh? What's going on?" I asked. I dropped the drawing to the desktop. "It's gorgeous out," Laura exclaimed. "The most beautiful day of the winter." "It's perfect sledding," Adriana chimed in excitedly. "The snow sort of froze. There's an icy crust on top. You've got to come to Miller Hill with us, Martha." I gaped at both of them. They were acting like 10-year-olds. "You mean you want to go sledding?" They both laughed at me. I knew I sounded like a moron, but I was so surprised. "Why can't we have fun?" Laura demanded. "You know, like we used to, before we got old, before we were supposed to start acting cool all the time." "Come on, Martha." Adriana tugged me off the chair. "Get your coat. It's not even that cold out. Come on, we've got an extra sled." "We'll have races," Laura suggested. She helped Adriana push me to the door. "We'll push all the 8-year-old kids off the hill and have it all to ourselves." "Hey, why not?" I said finally. We pushed each other down the stairs, singing along with Dad's opera, singing so loud he shouted for us to shut up, which made us laugh and sing even louder. Why shouldn't I have some fun? I asked myself. Why should I sit up in my room, staring at that creepy drawing? I realized I hadn't had any fun, any real fun, since the accident, since I lost my memory. I grabbed my snow parka and a pair of woolly gloves and followed my 2 friends out the front door. They were right. It was a beautiful afternoon. The air felt cold and crisp. The bright sunlight made the snow sparkle like gold. We walked to Miller Hill, carrying our round sleds, rolling them like hoops, sending them crashing into each other. Nearly to the top of the street, Adriana slipped and fell. Laura and I pounced on her and pushed her face into the snow. She sputtered, came up laughing, and started a wrestling match that got all 3 of us wet and snow-covered. Laughing, breathing hard from our strenuous battle, we brushed each other off. We gathered up our discs, which had slid halfway down the street, and continued on our way. Miller Hill is the favorite sledding place in Shadyside. It's steep and bumpy that stretches into a wide, empty field. The snow always seems deeper and slicker on Miller Hill. It's a steep climb up, but the ride down is long, fast, and totally thrilling. Today the hill glowed like a silvery mountain. Laura, Adriana, and I stopped at the bottom and gazed up. Dozens of kids of all ages, were sledding down, on every kind of sled. Garbage can lids and inflated snow donuts competed with old-fashioned wood and steel flexible flyers. What a scene! In their red and blue and purple jackets, their snow hats and ski caps, the kids looked like Christmas ornaments on a huge white tree. I know, I'm starting to sound like a poet or something, but it was just such a thrilling sight, such an innocent scene. I guess it made me think of being younger. It made me think of happier times. "How come the hill looks so much bigger than it used to?" Laura asked, ducking out of the way as 2 little boys came sliding down on plastic garbage bags. "Don't wimp out," Adriana scolded her. "The hill is the same as it always was. Let's go." Slipping and sliding, we leaned into the wind and made our way up to the top of the hill. Halfway up, the wind from the top blew the plastic sled from my hand, and I had to go chase it. I finally made it to the top. Where were Laura and Adriana? I shielded my eyes from the bright sunlight with one gloved hand and searched for them. They were already preparing to slide down. They had found an open spot on one side, just past a group of serious-faced boys. Now they were lowering themselves onto their sleds. Laura was sitting on hers. Adriana had plopped down on her belly. I darted over. planning to surprise Adriana and give her a hard shove. But they were too fast for me. They both took off with happy squeals. The sleds dropped fast. Laura hit a hard bump. Her sled flew into the air, but she managed to hold on. Adriana reached the bottom and just kept going. Her sled took her halfway across the field below. I laughed. What a great ride. My turn, I told myself. I tried to remember the last time I had slid up here on Miller Hill, the last time I had sledded down. I was probably 10 or 11, I guessed. Well, why should the 10-year-olds have all the fun? I gazed down to the bottom of the hill and saw Adriana and Laura standing together, sleds at their sides. Adriana had pulled off her ski cap and was brushing snow from her black hair. They were both staring up at me, waiting for me to join them. "Here I come," I shouted, cupping my gloved hands around my mouth. I don't think they could hear me. A gust of wind gave me a hard shove from behind. I lowered my sled to the snow, resting it on the edge. Then I lowered myself to my knees. I gripped the sides of the disc and dropped on top of it. Another wind gust sent me sliding down before I was ready to go. I nearly fell off as the disc slid down, picked up speed. I bounced over a sharp bump, held on, screaming. Oh no. The white snow whirring past, a blizzard of white. So white, white and cold. A cold wall of white. No, no. I'm buried in it, buried in the white. Falling deeper, deeper. I realized I was screaming now. Not a scream of fun, not a scream of delight. I screamed in horror, screamed out pure terror, screamed until I felt my lungs about to burst. And still I screamed so hard, screamed so loud, and the walls of white closed in. As I screamed out my horror, I knew I couldn't stop. I knew I'd never stop. Chapter 11. I don't remember exactly how I got home. Of course, Adriana and Laura must have helped me. I can still see their troubled faces as they ran to pull me off my sled at the bottom of the hill. They had to pry my hands off the edge, then pull me to my feet. I can see their wide eyes, their red cheeks. They were frantically talking to me, shouting at me, but I couldn't hear them. I was screaming too loud, screaming my throat raw, screaming. I saw the puzzled faces of the kids all around. I saw a woman pull two little girls away. The girls were covering their ears with mittened hands, trying to shut out the shrill screams. I saw them all, saw their alarm, saw their fear, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't control myself. I felt as if a creature inside me was struggling to burst out, screaming and forcing its way out of me. What triggered my horror? The snow? The sled? The feeling of sliding down so fast? The feeling of being out of control? Or was it the whirring walls of sparkling white snow? What drove me over the edge like that? I think I screamed all the way home. I don't really remember. I don't remember returning home, and I don't remember finally closing my mouth, shutting off the horrible shrieks. My throat felt raw. It burned as if on fire. I couldn't speak, could only whisper. "Martha, you're a total mess," I told myself. Where was I? Lying in my bed, the quilt pulled up to my chin. Mom and Dad downstairs making me a cup of tea, a bowl of hot soup. Dad on the phone trying to reach Dr. Sales. I'm still shaking, my whole body shuddering, my throat throbbing and aching from my screams. Lying in bed, staring up at the white ceiling, the bright white ceiling. And I had another flashback. Another picture slid into my mind as rapidly as a sled racing downhill. Another memory of white, the cabins covered with snow, powdery drifts up to the windows, silvery icicles stabbing down from the rain gutter like dagger blades. I saw Justine, Laura, and then Adriana. A snowball fight. I heard a thwack, the sound of a snowball hitting the back of Adriana's parka. I heard laughter, boys' laughter. More snowballs flew. Then I saw Aaron beside me, brown hair tumbling down from a brown and white checked cap, a grin on his face, cheeks red from the cold steam rising up from his open mouth. Another thwack. I felt myself duck as a snowball whirred close overhead. Everyone was laughing, shouting, having such a good time. Lying in bed, my eyes shut, I could feel myself smiling. It seemed like so much fun. The snow sparkled. Erin tossed a snowball at Laura. She ducked and dropped to her knees in the deep snow. A snowball hit her in the head, knocked her ski cap off. Laughing, she scrambled to make fresh snowballs. "I'll get you," she was screaming at someone, pretending to be angry. "I'll get you." Who was she screaming at? I struggled to see. Aaron? No, Ivan. Ivan was there with us, in his leather jacket, no hat or gloves. I saw his leering grin, saw the small goatee under his chin. Thwack! Another snowball caught Laura smack on the chest. She laughed, grabbed Ivan by the jacket collar, struggled to pull him down into the deep snow. Everyone laughing, everyone having so much fun. I could see clearly now. I was remembering, my memory. This was a piece of it, coming back to me. Ow! I felt a shock of cold, saw myself in the scene, saw myself wiping a wet clump of snow off my forehead, heard laughter, cold laughter, felt another snowball, hard and icy, smack just under my jacket collar. Who was throwing them? Who was attacking me? I squinted harder, trying to see the whole scene, trying to remember, to bring it all back, and saw Justine, such an angry expression knotting her face. Justine pelting me with snowballs, forming them furiously between her green gloves, then heaving snowballs at me as fast as she could. Justine! I saw myself calling to her. Hey! Whoa! Justine ignored me, threw even more furiously, letting out short grunts with each toss, throwing as hard as she could. Trying to hurt me? Why is Justine angry at me, I wondered. Why is she picking on me? And then I saw myself fight back, saw myself fling snowballs back at her, scooping up handful after handful of snow, squeezing it hard, heaving it before it was even shaped into snowballs. The two of us crying out, shouting now, heaping snow on each other, both of us moving frantically, furiously. The shouts all angry now, our expressions angry too. And then, feeling hands tugging me back, seeing Ivan and Aaron pulling me away, seeing Laura and Adriana stepping in front of Justine, hearing Justine's angry words. But I can't understand her words. What is she shouting about? Why is she so angry at me? Laura and Adriana having to hold on to her, having to pull her to the cabin, while Aaron and Ivan are grabbing my shoulders, trying to keep me still. All that happiness, everyone so cheerful, it disappeared so quickly, and I felt as cold as a snowy wind. The white fades, the scene darkens. What is happening? Lying in bed, I struggled to keep the picture bright, to keep the scene alive. I want to see more. I want to remember. I need to remember. Darker now. And later, I am inside a cabin. I see a fire dancing in the fireplace across the room. I am back against a wall, in deep shadows. I struggle to see through the shadows. I am sitting on a long, low bench, my back against the wall. Someone leans against me. Someone sits next to me. It's so dark back here, as if we're hiding. I struggle to see his face as he kisses me. It's Aaron. It has to be Aaron, I know. Who else would I be kissing back here in the shadows, away from all the others? Aaron. I kiss him again. It's so dark. I still can't see his face. Aaron, why can't I see you? Because it isn't Aaron. I feel a strong shudder as I struggle to remember, and see the boy lean forward in the darkness and press his mouth against mine. I feel his lips, pushing against my lips, so hard, so insistent, and it isn't Aaron. I'm kissing another boy, not Aaron. But who? He pulls back, smiles at me, and I see his dark, serious eyes, see the turned-up nose, the tiny white scar across the dark eyebrow. I'm kissing him in the shadows. I see him clearly now. I see his face, the face I've been drawing again and again. Chapter 12. The next afternoon I gathered up my drawings of the boy. I shoved them into my backpack, and I sneaked out of the house. Aaron, you've got to help me, I pleaded silently. My boots sank through the hard crust on the snow as I walked quickly to his house. I pulled my parka tighter, leaning into a steady, cold wind. Mom and Dad wanted me to stay in bed another day. They hadn't been able to reach Dr. Sales. He was out of town at a conference. They wanted to keep me home safe and sound. But I didn't feel safe and sound, even in my own bed with the quilt pulled up to my chin. Hot soup and cups of tea wouldn't calm me, wouldn't help me to rest. Only knowing the truth will help, I decided. Only knowing what happened last November will help me to calm down. And Aaron can tell me. Aaron can help me. A strong gust of frozen wind blew open my parka. I pulled it closed, shifted the backpack of my back, leaned forward as I trudged over the deep, crusty snow. Aaron's house came into view in the next block. 2 tall evergreens covered in white snow stood guard over the driveway. The driveway and front walk had been shoveled, the snow piled up on the sloping lawn. A single icicle, thick as a carrot, hung down over the front storm door. I tried to push the doorbell, but it felt frozen, stuck. I jabbed my finger against it again. No bell ringing inside the house. So I knocked. I had rushed out of the house without any gloves. My frozen hand ached as I pounded 3 times on the door, then 3 more times. I could see lights on inside. I heard a cough, then footsteps. Aaron's little brother Jake pulled open the door. "Hi," I said, my hand still raised, ready to knock again. "Is Aaron home?" "Yeah, sure." Jake stared up at me. He had a Kit Kat bar in one hand. He didn't move out of the way or invite me in. "Well, can I see him?" I asked impatiently. Aaron appeared before Jake could answer. He shoved Jake out of the way. Jake shoved him back, then disappeared. "Martha, hi." Aaron brushed back his brown hair with one hand. He was wearing baggy jeans and a maroon and gray Shadyside High sweatshirt. "I didn't expect." "I have to talk to you," I blurted out. I didn't mean to sound so excited, so desperate, but I suddenly couldn't catch my breath. "I want to show you something, Aaron. I want you to tell me some things. I need some answers." "Well," he glanced back into the house. He frowned. He seemed tense. What's his problem? I wondered, studying his face. First, Jake wouldn't let me in. Now Aaron is making me stand out here in the cold? "Can I come in?" I asked finally. "Oh, yeah, sure." His cheeks turned pink. He stepped back. I stamped my boots on the welcome mat and stepped into the warmth of the house. I could feel the cold follow me in. I pulled off the backpack, then the parka, and tossed them onto the floor beside the living room couch. "I'm just here watching Jake," Aaron offered. "Your parents aren't home?" He shook his head. "I had to see you," I said. I heard about yesterday," Aaron stammered. He shoved his hands into his jeans pockets and turned his blue eyes to the front window. "I'm sorry, His voice trailed off. He's never this tense around me, I thought. What is his problem? I rubbed my hands, trying to warm them. I could hear a TV on down the hall. Funny voices. A cartoon show. I heard Jake laughing. "Aaron," I started. "I wanted to show you these drawings I made." I bent down, reaching for the backpack, and heard a crash in the kitchen. He gasped. I stood up. "Is someone else here?" His face reddened. "No, I crossed the room quickly, made my way down the short hallway, pushed open the kitchen door. "Justine!" I cried. "What are you doing here?" Chapter 13. Justine stood hunched over the sink, picking up pieces of the glass she had just dropped. I saw a puddle of spilled water on the floor. She spun around as I burst in, and her mouth dropped open as if she wanted to scream. "Justine came over to borrow my graphing calculator," Aaron explained, stepping up behind me. "The batteries wore down on hers." "That's right," Justine agreed quickly. She pushed a tangle of red hair off her forehead and turned to Aaron. "I'm sorry, I was getting a glass of water. I dropped it, and—" "But you were hiding back here," I exclaimed. My voice came out shrill and angry. "Justine, why were you hiding in the kitchen?" I wasn't," she insisted. "Martha, really, I told her to," Aaron broke in. He stepped between us. He scratched his wavy brown hair tensely with one hand and kept gazing from Justine to me. "You what?" I demanded. "I told her to wait in the kitchen," Aaron explained. "I thought you would get the wrong idea." "Excuse me?" I cried. Justine dropped a jagged shard of glass onto the counter. "Calm down, Martha. Everything is okay," she said softly. Aaron stepped up close behind me and put his hands on my shoulders. "Yeah, everything is okay," he echoed. "We both heard about yesterday," Justine said. "We heard about how you lost it on Miller Hill. When you knocked on the door, we saw you through the front window. Aaron said I should go in the kitchen. We didn't want to get you upset or anything." Aaron turned me around. His blue eyes burned into mine. "It was stupid. I'm sorry, Martha. It was totally dumb. But I did it for you." "We didn't want you to get upset again," Justine added. "I just stopped by for the calculator. That's the truth?" I lowered my eyes to the floor. The black and gray dots on the linoleum flashed and shimmered. I shut my eyes. "Sorry," I murmured. "I didn't mean to sound so suspicious, so crazy." Aaron slid his arm around my waist. Justine said more comforting things. Aaron gave her the graphing calculator. She apologized again. Then she pulled on her coat and hurried out the front door. I watched her through the living room window. She strode quickly down the driveway, her head lowered, biting her bottom lip. As I watched her, I tried to decide whether to believe them or not. Aaron had been so great this whole time. He'd been so wonderful to me, so caring. I decided I had to believe them. I could feel Aaron's eyes on me. I turned to find him on the couch, tapping his fingers on the arm. I hurried over and sat down at the other end of the couch. "Sorry about the mix-up," he murmured, tapping the couch arm a little faster. "My memory is slowly coming back," I told him. I could see the surprise on his face, saw his jaw twitch. He swallowed. "I keep seeing pictures," I continued, "whole scenes. It's all coming back to me, bit by bit." He sighed. Then he spoke in a soft, hushed tone just above a whisper. "When it does come back, it'll be hard for you." He took my hand and squeezed it. I wanted him to keep holding it, but he quickly let go. "What do you mean?" I demanded. "Why will it be hard for me?" He hesitated. "You know I can't tell you that," he said, still in a whisper. "Tell me," I insisted. "Why will it be hard for me?" "The doctor told us not to help you," Aaron replied. He cleared his throat. "He told us that you had to get your memory back on your own. He made us promise not to tell you what happened that night." "But Aaron," I grabbed his arm. I tried to pull him close, but he kept his place on the other end of the couch. "Why will it be so hard for me when I get back my memory?" I demanded again. "Why will I be so upset?" He uttered a hoarse cry. His blue eyes locked on mine. "Because something terrible happened," he cried. "Something terrible, Martha." He took a deep breath. His eyes remained on mine. "It changed us all." A strange smile crossed his face, a bitter smile, a smile I had never seen there before. "In a way, you're lucky you don't remember," he muttered. "But, Aaron—" His strange smile faded. He scratched his dark hair. I let out a frustrated cry. I wanted him to tell me the whole story, everything, but I knew he wouldn't. My friends were all being so good, all cooperating with Dr. Sales. The drawings. How could I have forgotten about the drawings? I reached over the couch and lifted my backpack. I struggled with the zipper. My hands were shaking. I pulled out the drawings. "What are those?" Aaron demanded. He finally slid closer to me. I held two of them up. "I've been drawing this face, again and again." His eyes bulged. He gasped. "Who is it?" I demanded. He shook his head. "No." Was that shock in his eyes? Was it fear? "Tell me," I insisted. "I can't stop drawing this face. Tell me who it is, Aaron." "No, no way," he replied, shaking his head. I shoved the drawings into his face. "Tell me! Tell me! Tell me!" He pushed them away and jumped to his feet. "I can't, Martha. You know what the doctor said. You know that I can't tell you." I jumped up beside Aaron. I wasn't going to let him get away. I wasn't going to give up. The boy's face was driving me crazy. I saw it everywhere I went. I couldn't erase it from my mind. "Is he someone I know?" I demanded. Aaron crossed his arms in front of him. "Is he?" I repeated. I waved the drawings in Aaron's face. He backed away. He made a zipper motion over his mouth. "Stop it, Martha. I can't tell you. Stop making it hard for both of us. You know I can't say anything." I could feel my chest tighten, my temples throb. I had to know. I had to know now. "Do I know him, Aaron? Where is he? If I know him, why haven't I seen him in school? Why haven't I seen him?" I shrieked. I guess I'd gone too far. I could see Aaron start to lose it. He balled his hands into fists. His face reddened. He gritted his teeth. Then he spit out an answer. "Know why you haven't seen him, Martha? Know why you haven't seen him?" "Why?" I demanded. "Why?" "Because he's dead." Chapter 14. Tuesday night, I finished my homework early. I sat down at my desk and opened my drawing pad. A drawing of the dead boy's face slid out. I held it between my hands, studying it. Why am I drawing a dead boy? I asked myself. I tilted the paper at one angle, then another, as if seeing it in a different way would bring me an answer. The dark eyes stared out at me, revealing nothing. Why am I drawing a dead boy? Who is he? Aaron refused to tell me any more about the boy. He was furious at himself for losing control, for blurting out that the boy was dead. I tried to apologize to Aaron in school, but he turned and hurried away. Whenever I called his house, Jake answered and said that Aaron wasn't home. "I can't lose you, Aaron," I murmured out loud. "You mean too much to me. I can't lose you." I stared at the face in the drawing. "Who are you?" I asked it. "And why was I kissing you in the cabin? Why was I drawing a dead boy? Why do I draw you over and over?" A frightening thought made me shiver despite the heat of my bedroom. Was a dead boy controlling my hand? Was he forcing me to draw him, guiding my hand from the grave? I crumpled up the drawing. Then I pulled 2 charcoal pencils from the desk drawer. I leaned over the drawing pad and tried to steady my hands. I'll draw a kitten, I decided. The deadline for the art portfolio was only 2 weeks away. If I didn't have some drawings to show, I wouldn't be accepted in the special course. I'll draw you, Rooney. Where are you? Of course the stupid cat wasn't around when I needed her. I leaned over the pad and started to draw her from memory. Martha, my mother called. Adriana is here. I heard Adriana's footsteps in the hall. Hi, what's up? I asked as she stepped into the room. Not much. How's it going? She answered. She tugged off her wool muffler and blue-down jacket and tossed them onto my bed. She pushed back her curly black hair with both hands. Whoa, it's cold out. You look great. Yeah, I feel okay, I replied softly. I'd been apologizing to Laura and Adriana ever since the sledding incident on Saturday. I must have apologized at least 24 times and told them I was feeling fine. But they kept checking up on me, and they kept telling me how great I looked all the time. Adriana dropped down beside her jacket on my bed. She let out a long sigh. You finished your homework? I nodded. Yeah, I didn't have much. I thought I'd try sketching. This portfolio. Things are bad at my house, Adriana interrupted. Your parents? I asked. Are they fighting again? Do you need to sleep here tonight? A lot of times when her parents were battling, Adriana escaped by staying at my house. There were times when things were really bad that she just about moved in with my family for good. No, it's not my parents, Adriana said, kicking the toe of her boot against a spot on the carpet. Dad moved out Sunday, she moaned. Finally. I didn't know what to say. I knew that Adriana was closer to her father than her mother. I didn't think she was as happy about him leaving as she pretended. It's Ivan, she said, fiddling with her long blue wool muffler. It's Ivan I'm worried about. I turned in the desk chair to face her. I pulled the drawing pad into my lap and sketched as I talked to her. What did Ivan do this time? Adriana hesitated. I'm not sure, but I went into his room tonight to ask him something, and he had a new tape player and a new Discman. I stopped sketching. So, why is that so terrible, Adriana? She twisted the muffler around her wrist. Her dark eyes flared. Where did Ivan get the money for those things? I thought about that, waiting for her to continue. I think he's been stealing, she said finally. I mean, he's been hanging out with some really tough kids. A couple of them got suspended from Waynesbridge High. I think they set a bathroom on fire or something. Nice, I muttered, rolling my eyes. Well, Ivan has been hanging out with these guys all the time, Adriana continued. He says they're great guys. They know how to have fun. She tossed the muffler back onto the bed. She frowned. And now, all of a sudden, Ivan has a Discman and a new tape player. He's been stealing. I know he has. He's so mixed up, Martha. He's going to ruin his life. And I started to reply, but I gazed down at my sketch and let out a startled cry. No. Oh, no. I hadn't drawn a cat. I had drawn the face again. Can't I draw anything else? I felt Adriana's hand on my shoulder. I turned to see her staring down at the boy's face. I saw her swallow hard, saw her eyes narrow, saw her grit her teeth. Want to go to the basketball game Friday night? She asked, her hand still resting on the shoulder of my sweater. Huh? The Shady Side game. Friday night, she said. Want to go? You know, have some fun? Try to forget about everything? I don't want to forget, I thought unhappily. I want to remember. Sure, I told her. Great idea. Let's have some fun. Laura came with Adriana and me to the game. Laura picked us up a little early. So first we cruised around town in Laura's Bonneville, with the radio cranked up all the way. We sang at the top of our lungs and shouted out the window at boys on the street, squealing around corners, laughing and joking, acting like jerks, but we didn't care. It had been such a cold, grim winter, we were determined to have some fun. We roared into the student parking lot at school about 10 minutes after the game had started and scrambled into the gym, greeted by the steady thud of the basketball being dribbled on the hardwood floor and the shouts of the crowd. As we climbed the bleachers, searching for a seat, I glanced up at the scoreboard. Already 8-2 in favor of our opponents, the Ironton Hawks. Not a good start. Go Tigers! I shouted. Tigers rule! Laura, Adriana, and I made some kids move down, and we squeezed into seats near the top of the bleachers. Shadyside scored an easy layup, and the crowd sent up a cheer. Where's Aaron tonight? Laura shouted over the roar. I shrugged. Don't know. He didn't call. I turned to the floor, determined to concentrate on the game. I wasn't going to worry about Aaron tonight, or anyone else. I wanted to enjoy the basketball game, cheer with the crowd, shout for the Tigers, maybe cruise around with Adriana and Laura after the game, or hang out at The Corner or Pete's Pizza. Act like everyone else, not like some freak with a chunk of her life missing, some freak everyone felt sorry for. Go Tigers! The whistle blew, a timeout. I saw Corky Kokorian jump up and lead the cheerleader squad onto the floor. Check out the guy on the Hawks, Adriana shouted. She pointed to their bench across the floor. Which one? I squinted against the bright lights. The tall one? She laughed. They're all tall. The one with the curly black hair. I squinted harder. The one who can't figure out how to tie his sneakers? Adriana ignored my sarcasm. I'm cheering for him, she declared. Wow. I shook my head. Traitor. The cheerleaders did their splits, then went running off the floor. The players tossed down their towels and water bottles and walked back onto the floor. A buzzer sounded. The game started up. A close game. As it neared the half, the score was tied at 24. I'm starving, Laura moaned. She tugged my arm. Let's beat the crowd to the food counter. Yeah, let's go, Adriana agreed. With about a minute left in the half, the three of us started down the aisle of the bleachers. Outside the gym, food stands were set up with popcorn and hot dogs and stuff. We were nearly down to the floor when a Hawks player scored a slam dunk. The crowd grumbled as the Hawks took the lead. I saw our players turn to take the ball down the floor, saw their faces set, their hard expressions, eager not to be down at the half. A pass, then another pass. The player started to dribble, lost the ball. I saw the angry scowl on his face. Saw his face. His face. No! He had the face in my drawing. It's him! I shrieked, grabbing for Adriana. It's him! It's him! I missed her shoulder, started to fall down the bleacher aisle, caught my balance, raised my eyes to the floor. Another Shadyside player turned. He had the face too. I stared at two more players, stared at their wavy brown hair, their turned-up noses, their serious dark eyes. The face. They all had the face I'd been drawing, the face of the dead boy. And as they turned to stare back at me, their smiles faded, their mouths twisted, eyes bulged in horror. They all started to scream, and I screamed with them.